Welcome to the Smack Happy Design Videocast, where we explore all things web and marketing. With your hosts, Nicole and Danielle.
Welcome to episode number 22. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Danielle.
And I just want to remind our audience real quick that we'll be taking some notes. We've got some slides that we'll be able to share after this episode. So if you want to just sit back, relax, and listen, you can download those notes at smackhappy.com/videos. Today, our guest is Elan LaLonde, a small business marketing consultant. Welcome, Elan.
Thank you. Hello, Nicole and Danielle.
Hello. It's a very special episode. It's Deuce.
Deuce. Oh, yes, 22.
Deuces, yeah.
So tell us a little more about yourself, Elan.
Well, thank you both for having me. I'm a small business consultant. I've worked in marketing and sales support in the San Francisco Bay Area for almost 30 years. And I just really love working with small businesses. I think that, one of the things that has been so inspiring to me throughout my whole career is that right now in the US, there's over 35 million small business owners. And for the most part, so many of these people have organically grown their businesses and have created incredible communities and great jobs. So I love working with them, and I love helping them to both simplify marketing, but most important, to really help them grow their business in ways that are meaningful and fulfilling for them and that support their employees and customers and communities.
Yeah, I think we can relate. We really love helping small businesses too. So I think that's a great segue into what you wanted to talk about today, which is 5 steps to successful small business marketing. So you want to share some of your knowledge with our small business audience. Exactly. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Very good. Well, I think kind of as I started out, there's 35 million small business owners. And when we say small business, we really mean anything from the solo entrepreneur or solopreneur to companies with 200 or less employees usually. And it can be companies that are B2B, B2C, it can be B2B to B2C. And it can be both products and retail kind of orientation versus a more consultative and agency type orientation where people's offers are literally services, and oftentimes that service can be really knowledge. So I put together the 5 steps, and this is the same 2 slides. One is just with bullet points, and so moving forward for small businesses, regardless of where they are in their life cycle, whether it's a startup, a young company, or a well-established company, or even a company that's looking at succession planning and exit planning. The first step, I'm just going to do the overview of the 5 steps. It's having a marketing plan. I think a lot of small businesses are realizing the value of having a marketing plan. 1 to 3 years is usually perfect, although it's not uncommon to have a 5, 10, or even 20-year marketing plan. And knowing that will change and evolve over time. The second step is creating the brand, or for many companies, they want to rebrand or reposition themselves in the marketplace. And a rebranding can include everything from a complete new logo and visual identity and brand voice and style, or it might be something a little simpler where it's just repositioning the current offer, or it might be rebranding and positioning new products or new offers. The third step, once you have that, will be to define your marketing goals. And we'll talk later in the cast today about how to hone in on having specific marketing goals that will really support you to achieve what you want to achieve based on what you've established in your business and marketing plan. And then writing your go-to-market strategy and plan. And this is really, how am I going to show up in the marketplace? Whether that's the digital marketplace, the analog marketplace, or a combination of both. And then finally, we'll talk about determining your budget and the resources you need after you've done your plan, your brand, your goals, and your go-to-market strategy. So with that in mind, I'm going to start just with the very first one. It's writing your marketing plan. Marketing plans, there's a kind of a joke or a saying that says, yes, write your business plan, and the next day it's absolutely irrelevant. And to some extent that is true, and especially at the pace of business these days and the pace of change, the process itself of writing the business and marketing plan is invaluable. I can't stress enough how much a business owner or a small management team will learn and discover in writing a business plan and the marketing plan that's wrapped up in that business plan. And to be clear, I'm certain that, large corporations, it may take several months to write a business and marketing plan. However, for small businesses, 200 employees or less, you can write a business plan in a couple of days or a week. And let's say that you're a little bit larger, you're in the 100 to 200 employee range. You might want to take 2 to 4 weeks, but I would really encourage small business owners, whether it's the solo entrepreneur, a company of 3 to 5 employees, or the 10 to 100 or more employees, the exercise of writing the business and marketing plan will deliver results that you would not be able to achieve otherwise. It gives you that orientation of telling your own story to yourself. It's an internal narrative. This is where we came from. This is where we are. This is where we want to go. So in that marketing plan especially, you want to know what your market is, what the size of the market is, what the needs of the market are relative to your products or services. You want to know who your competitors are. I always discourage small businesses from saying, well, we really don't have any competitors. It might be true that you're number one in your space and that what you offer is different than what anyone else offers, but always recognize that you do have competitors and be able to identify who they are and what threats or opportunities they present to your business. SWOT analysis, which is, you can do a Google search for SWOT analysis. It's a very simple process where you identify your internal strengths and weaknesses and what the external opportunities and threats are. Just doing a SWOT analysis alone often gives businesses incredible insight into what they need to do to move forward, changes they need to make, things they need to improve. Finally, and in my opinion, most important is defining your customer. Know your customer. What are their profiles? And be specific on that profile. And what does their journey look like in how they engage with your brand? McKinsey developed the customer journey, customer decision journey, CDJ. You can do a Google search for McKinsey customer decision journey and get a real good sense of what that's about and how you can build your business plan and marketing plan around your understanding of your customer decision journey and how they interact with your business, your products and services. So that's a lot just to start out. I want to kind of open it up to the two of you, what insights you would like to also share.
So one thing I was thinking about is which is kind of funny. So when people come to us, for example, we already assume that they've got their business plan down. And I think in some sense they have their SWOT analysis figured out. And I know that so for our websites especially, I don't know, we're going to be talking a little bit about this later. The market and competitor research and the target segments and everything. I mean, that is that's the key to the castle for a lot of websites, because if you don't know who you're talking to, and also if you don't know who, your competitors are, it's going to be really hard to break out. And, like you said, some people might even just think that they don't have competitors and not actually know that they have, some competitors out there. And if it's true that they're so different that they don't have any, it's guaranteed that someone in the future is going to be a competitor, in the foreseeable future. So, I mean, all of this is super important, and I totally agree with everything that you just said. But I think for websites, especially, the research part of everything, I mean, even the marketing plan and the SWOT analysis, everything goes into it. It all really works well together. But, being able to speak to your audience and knowing who else is looking at you and competing with you is just definitely a necessity, I think, when it comes to doing any kind of digital marketing stuff, for sure.
Danielle, that's fantastic. I really loved the comment you made that you may not have competitors right now, but if you don't, rest assured that you will soon. Because if what you're doing is so different and differentiated in the marketplace and so valuable, there will be people coming out to copy you quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. So that makes me think of a question that kind of ties into what I was going to ask was, like, how often do you think someone should do the SWOT analysis, which kind of ties into this because then, maybe all of a sudden a competitor has appeared, right? So how often do you want to take a look at this?
SWOT analysis can be done in a half hour or even 20 minutes. So I generally do SWOT analysis for clients when they want to do something new, when something is broken and not working, and then routine once a year when they're revisiting their business plan.
Okay.
But literally in any kind of situation, one can do a very quick SWOT analysis. And it just what I like about the SWOT analysis is it really organizes thinking. Oh, what are my strengths in this situation? Where am I weak in this situation? What opportunities exist and what are the threats? And it just helps to inform better decision making. So again, I would say when I'm doing something new, launching a new campaign, launching a new product, launching a new service, when something's broken or there's problems, things aren't working right, what's the lay of the land here? Where am I strong? Where am I weak? Etc. Yeah. And then, as I say, annually, I think it's really important to do. However, you can do a SWOT analysis for a department, for a program, for a product, for an offer. It's really a great, simple tool that businesses have been using for years and years and years.
One tiny little thing to add on to that, as you were talking through, understanding the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, threats, I feel like for a lot of businesses, that's either one or the other. You're really good at identifying what you're really bad at doing or what's really going on that's not really great. Or, there's the opposite where you're really good at doing a lot of things, but you don't really know what you're bad at. And you might not realize this until you actually go through the process. I mean, I know for me, thinking about how we do some of our stuff, like I think we're pretty balanced in the way of like thinking of like, okay, well, here's our strengths, here's our weaknesses. And it almost gets easier too, because then you start to recognize when things are happening and you can say, oh, wow, maybe I need to go back and I need to redo another SWOT analysis. Exactly. So the act of doing this, I think too, actually helps, like you said, change your thinking. And, you kind of start to become more intuitive to what you're doing and, being able to fix as you go along.
Yeah. And as we had shared at the beginning, I think a lot of businesses do this organically. And then what we're presenting here are some tools to help it be a little bit more organized, a little bit more intentional, and with the hope and the expectation that doing this in a little bit more structured fashion will deliver better results for you and your company. So,
totally. I think it totally will.
Yeah.
And people will be surprised.
And what?
And people will be surprised.
Absolutely. A strong foundation makes for great marketing. That's for sure. Okay, well, let's pop on to the next one. So Step two is defining your brand or rebranding, depending on where you are in the life cycle of your company. Essentially, this is something several years ago, quite a few years ago, actually. I was working, the executive chairman asked me what was brand, and I had a pretty good answer. I think Wikipedia says something like it's everything that comprises your visual identity, et cetera, et cetera. What I really liked that I learned from this gentleman was that simplify it. Your brand is your promise and your reputation. You have and he said, what do you promise to do every day? What is your fundamental promise with your customers, your employees, your coworkers, your vendors, your partners, your community? You have complete control over your promise. What do you promise every day in your products and services? And it's kind of like what Simon Sinek says, start with why. What's your fundamental reason for existing beyond wanting to make money and make a good living? And then the reputation part, you can only influence your reputation. The market owns your reputation. What the market thinks of you is always up to the market. So keeping in mind that brand is your promise and reputation, obviously you have to have a strong brand logo, brand style, your voice, your visual identity. From there comes your positioning and messaging. Positioning statements, certainly startups in different spaces like high tech and fintech and financial services and in general B2B businesses, I think, are better at knowing their positioning statement. Positioning statement is an internal statement that says who you are, what you do, who you do it for, how you do it, what is the main benefit your client receives from the who, how, what, and how are you differentiated in the marketplace. If a business can write that statement, from it, they will be able to craft 3 to 5 core messages, and those core messages appear in your marketing over and over and over again, said in different ways. Your core messaging should be in your About Us page, it should be in your social media, in your emails, in your videos, in your flyers, in your blogs. And oftentimes, working with an agency, perhaps say like Smack Happy, being able to translate those core messages into search engine optimization terms based on how your clients find you in the online world. It's a winning combination. Again, positioning and messaging, I don't know what the percent is, but I know many small businesses do this organically. They don't have the structure of, oh, here's the formula for writing a positioning statement. They just know it intuitively. Finally, from your positioning and messaging, you're going to be able to craft your elevator pitches, your elevator speeches, your USP, which is your unique selling proposition. And your unique selling proposition is how you're differentiated from all your competitors. And your value proposition is what are the benefits, the primary tactical and emotional benefits that your customers receive from your product or service. And finally, what are the reasons to believe? Why would I believe what your core messaging is telling me? And reasons to believe can be because we guarantee it, because we have the credentials, because others are using our product or service and they'll attest to it, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, I think getting your brand real clear is so essential once you have your marketing plan set. And especially for established brands, I think it's important to always be looking at, has our style or voice changed? Do we need to upgrade our visual identity? Usually those kinds of things happen when they're doing a new website. New website, in my opinion, is a rebranding, whether or not you have to redefine your positioning, whether or not you have to redefine your logo. you're still literally putting a new face of the company out to the world. And this is the area that I most work with clients, because most small business clients still struggle with keeping pace with technology in the 21st century, especially the digital world. How can I have a holistic and comprehensive digital presence that makes sense to my brand, so that wherever a potential customer or customer encounters me, they know that they're at my company. So with that, I'm going to kind of open it up again. Just curious to hear from you what really stands out, or what you've seen with your clients, things that can help them in building their brand and their messaging for their brand.
Do you want to go first, Nicole?
Yeah, I'm not sure where to take this. So if you have a thought, then.
Well, so my thought always goes back to some sort of example or experience that I've had. And I think one thing that we want to say, and that we do say all the time, is that we care about what we do. We care about other people, just in general. Like, take away the whole website business part of it, take away the money making part of it. We just care about what we do. We want people to, have a good experience in doing whatever they're setting out to do with their marketing, their website, whatever. And things sometimes pop up that make me realize that whatever we've done in the past has somehow worked. And two small examples is there was in a newsletter. So you say, make sure that you say this throughout everything that you do in one way or another. Maybe you don't say, hey, we care about you, straight away, but there's different ways and different, I think, pieces of that to present it. But anyway, so there was an email that we had sent out once, and somebody, I think, had commented to Nicole that was like, wow, I can really tell that you really care about what you're talking about through how you write. And, this made a lot of sense to me because of that, not because of maybe the actual content, but they wanted to dig deeper into it because they really felt what we were trying to say, on the deeper level. And then another thing, taking it to kind of a more technical SEO standpoint, we're really passionate about WordPress. We really love WordPress. We think WordPress is the best. So we actually get customers who Google, I hate Squarespace, or I hate Wix, or something like that. So we actually do the very opposite, and make them fall in love with this other tool that they could be using to make their lives easier. And I think we try to also take those examples and work those into everything that we do, and try to help people just kind of, like you say, holistically, organically, try to work through everything and, just get to the root of what, you're trying to do, and find the more technical and tactical ways to pull that out and sell yourself. I mean, I think it's the hardest thing to do is sell what you're trying to sell, and really come across as somebody who can solve somebody's problem. But yeah, so that's what came to mind when I think about branding and think about my experience with Smack Happy and what we do, and how we've affected certain clients that we have. And so that's my 2 cents on that.
That was a great example, the WordPress. So for those who are listening and don't know about WordPress, WordPress is a website development tool. It's the back end. When you go to a website, oftentimes it might be powered by WordPress. And some of the other companies that Danielle named, Squarespace, Wix, they also do website development tools. And what I thought was really great in your example was the difference between the brand promise and the brand reputation. So that all of those companies are promising, to some extent, offering the best, fastest, easiest, most bells and whistles, whatever it is, but clearly their reputation doesn't precede their promise. And knowing your promise and reputation, I think, can really help solidify your brand for the long term. Nicole, did you want to add anything, or should we move on?
Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay. So the next step is defining your goals, and this is super important. You've got your business plan, you have your marketing plan for 1 to 3 years. Now we're looking at, let's get going. Let's what do I really need to do now? Usually it's a 6-month to 1 year timeline for small businesses. It can be longer, but I think working in a 6-month to 1 year to 18-month time frame is really great. And one of the barriers that I've had clients come up against, they want everything right now. And by having done the marketing plan and having gotten clear on where their brand is at this time in the marketplace, it's so important when you're hiring an agency or a consultant or a new marketing staff person to know, what do I need to achieve? What are the goals that that my company needs to achieve in the next 6 to 18 months? And it's, in my opinion, based on years of experience, and also, I mean, there's so much in the business world that you can read about. The narrower your focus, the more likely you are to realize success, to really achieve what you're trying to achieve. So when you're a new brand or you're rebranding, it's really all about awareness. You want people to be aware of your brand, and there's a wide range of campaigns you can do around that. A lot of different marketing programs you can do. Image or preference. Often a brand image campaign is when you've suffered a setback. And brand preference campaign is when your marketplace is relatively diluted and you want your audience, your targets, to prefer your brand over others. It's really important not to try and do a multi-pronged brand campaign. Either do a brand awareness campaign, a brand image campaign, or a brand preference campaign. Don't try and mix and match with those. It confuses the message in the marketplace, and you're not going to realize the success that you want. Brand repositioning, it's when your company is rebranding, you're clear that you're moving into a different space, or you have new products or services that you're offering, and you want to bring those to market in a way that they look fresh and new based on the foundation of your existing brand. Demand generation often is used in B2B types of settings. Demand generation is about developing phenomenal content and experiences that create interest and build the reputation of your product or service. And that goes to lead generation. Lead generation is really about generating people who are ready to buy your product or service, and they already have interest in your company, in your product or service. So the difference between demand and lead generation, it sometimes gets blurred, but demand generation is often for more complex offers in the marketplace or brand new products that no one knows nothing about. That said, both demand and lead generation, their foundation of them is in having great content across multiple channels that are all telling the same story, that are all leveraging the same types of search engine optimization so that people can find you. And then on the right-hand side, the other 3 main goals would be increasing new sales, and that would be customer or account acquisition, or it might just be more sales of a certain product or product line. The second is increasing sales with your existing customer base. So you want to cross-sell, you want to upsell, or you want to continue to sell whatever it is that they've already been engaging with. And again, that can be a service from a business-to-business approach, or it could be, in fact, retail-type products, either brick and mortar or through digital. And then the final goal might be to improve how you close sales. This is often with B2B, usually a consultative selling, complex offers, You want to shorten the sales cycle and or increase your conversion rate of lead to new customer. So that's kind of the wrap up of the goals. Really identifying the goals. I think it's very important to quantify goals. I think it helps small businesses get closer to actually achieving or even exceeding the results that they're looking for. So, I want to increase sales by 10% over the next 2 years, or I want to increase sales with my existing customers by 20% over the next 2 years, or I want to sell 500 units per month of this cool product that we're producing. Whatever it is, lead generation, I've learned that for every 10 leads, within 3 months, I get 1 new customer. Well, my customer acquisition goals for the year are double what they were last year. So I know I need to either A, generate 20 leads now in that same time frame, or I need to get better at how I close that sale. I need to be able to improve my lead generation by, well, in this case, it would be 100%. So I would get 2 new customers for every 10 leads. That's kind of the high level in defining what your goals are. Hone in on it, narrow your focus, be very specific what you want to accomplish, and this will help you to move ahead quickly.
So I guess what my question would be, and you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but I guess I just want to kind of spell it out really clearly for people, is defining these goals in a realistic way. Like what's the best way to go about making sure that you're not, setting some unachievable goal and then you're disappointed because you weren't able to reach it?
Yeah, so to add to your thought, we usually say, we talk about SMART goals. And I know that SMART goals have become a little bit buzzy because of certain companies out there that have kind of made it part of their brand, but it still makes sense. They're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And it's really cool to see yourself meet those small goals to meet the bigger goal, whether it's like, okay, in 5 years, maybe that goes back to your plan. In 5 years, I want to be X, Y, Z. You can get there slowly and surely by, narrowing your focus, looking at those smaller goals. And it really helps to see when you achieve those, because then it's like, wow, I feel like I'm, for people that are more, they want to see the results right away. It's actually better because you can see like a little bit at a time. You're like, wow, okay, I met this goal in the Q2. So for Q3, let's, up it a little bit or something. And then maybe that even takes you over or exceeds your goals, like for, your 5-year plan or whatever already in 2 years or something like that. So it's really cool to see, I think, too, when you take those goals and you break them down into little pieces. And maybe I'm using like the wrong descriptive words because they're not little, they're really big achievements. But yeah, so that's what I think of too. I think of the SMART goals and, breaking them down. And you could use them for any of these, really. You could use them for any of these goals that you see in step 3, so yeah.
Here, the SMART goals is a fantastic reminder. And here's an example I think the two of you will relate to. You have a client, a potential client that comes to you and says, I need a new website. So that isn't the goal. So the questions you're going to ask in your new website, do you need the new website so that you can generate more leads? Do you need the new website so you can actually have online sales with a shopping cart? So you're really your goal is really about account acquisition. Do you need a new website because so many of your customers want your thought leadership? You need a new website because you have to blog so that every month your existing customers who use your complex product. Let's say it's a SaaS software tool that they're using for managing their finances. So again, the new website would not be the goal. Or I've had clients come to me and say, I have to start doing email campaigns. I was at a party the other night, and so-and-so, who's the CEO of this great company, they couldn't believe I'm not doing email campaigns. So are the email campaigns to raise brand awareness? Are they to improve closing sales? Are they for demand generation? So that's, I think getting clear on what your goals are will help then identify, do you need a new website, or do we just need to improve the website you have? Do you need to be on social media? And if so, where on social media? Is it social media to increase existing customer sales? Is it social media for lead generation? Is it social media just to have your brand out there? Same with email campaigns. What do you need to accomplish? What do you need to be doing to achieve your goals? But what are your goals first? So I like it when businesses take a step back and think about, oh, I don't need a new website, or I don't need to start blogging or doing social media or e-newsletter until I've determined what do I need to accomplish? What are those kind of core goals? And then what are all the ways around it, which is what we're going to get into next. So you want me to just pop right onto it?
Yeah.
So once you've decided what your goals are, that's where you decide now. So I'm going to start with the website. So these are the different channels. You're ready to go to market now at whatever stage you are in your life cycle, whatever size of company you are, and whether you're offering products or services in the marketplace. So really the website is, in the 21st century, every small business, I'm going to say, must have a really great website. And in the same breath, I know of many small businesses who still do not have any online presence at all. So, and they're succeeding. So I just contradicted myself, and I'm okay with that. Even a simple website, who you are, what you do, who you do it for, about us, a little bit of a story about your history. Human beings, since the beginning of time, live by the narrative. We love hearing our own story told over and over and over again. And that's been true of the human condition since the beginning of time. The website is the digital hub for your business. And sometimes the website might in fact be only a Facebook page. There are some companies who launch their company and live their sole website is in fact a Facebook page. That can be okay. I think as we continue to live in a digital world, I think having a website for any business or company, even for solopreneurs, is essential. And literally everything else in this array of bubbles here, it all points back to a website. Always, always, always. The website includes, the first one to the left of it, the SEO, search engine optimization, for those who are listening and aren't familiar with it. When individuals go to a search engine and they type in what they are searching for, there are usually 3 to 5, for a small business, 3 to 5 to 10 keyword search terms that people most frequently will use to find your company. So you'll want the content on your website to include those keywords and those keyword phrases to the degree that will be sufficient for the search engine's algorithm to find your company and to rank your company's website in the search results. And Smack Happy, they are experts at search engine optimization. It's one of their core offers, and it's a game changer for companies who work with Nicole and Danielle and the team. Getting your search engine optimization for your website is the foundation of having a successful digital hub. You also, small businesses, you must be in local search directories, specifically for Google, Yahoo, and Bing. It's very easy to do, very easy to set up. And then I also encourage small businesses to be in any and every directory that's relevant to their business. And most of those directories are going to be free. And you can make an assessment if it's of value to be in a paid directory, although I wouldn't recommend it initially for any company. Social media and PR, they become so intertwined and the lines have blurred between them. There's three types of social media: owned, paid, and earned. Owned social media is your own Instagram site, your own Facebook page, your own LinkedIn page. Paid social media can be display advertising, or it can also be you're paying an influencer to post about your company. And then earned social media and PR is, so earned social media is everybody who's talking about you. It's not costing you a penny. Hopefully you've influenced them to have a really good brand reputation and they're saying wonderful things about you. Earned PR is when a journalist or a news reporter comes to your business and wants to write a story about you. From there, social media, I've called out, in my opinion, these are the six these are the six social media sites that all small businesses need to assess which ones are the right fit for them. Now, there are literally thousands and thousands of other social media sites that might make sense for specific niche businesses, and we won't go into those today. But depending on what business you're in, you absolutely should have a presence on at least one or two social media sites. And you need to assess which ones are going to be most appropriate for you. Email is still one of the most fantastic direct offer. Email is still, in spite of all the social media and all the changes in our digital world, it continues to be one of the most effective ways to directly message your customers. Less popular now, but still effective depending on your business, would be direct mail or other types of direct marketing. Direct marketing could be TV and radio direct marketing. Also, one of the growing trends is instant messaging direct marketing. Again, it's not going to be for every business. You need a good consultant or a good strategist to help you kind of think through, based on what your plan is and what your goals are, what types of channels are going to be best fit for you. And then we look at the two advertising on the top right, the digital and online advertising, search engine marketing, where you pay for keywords not to rank you, actually you get a display ad when a user types in those. Display advertising across different networks, and then out-of-home advertising, much of which is now digital. And that can include electronic billboards and kiosks and point-of-sale electronic kiosks, et cetera, et cetera. And then wrapping it all up, advertising. Advertising for some small businesses in local print or on local radio or local TV is still very relevant. Out-of-home advertising, and this would be more billboard, traditional type billboard, traditional type newsstands, painting a bus bench with your business. You know, again, having somebody come in and help you with your plan and your strategy. Look at where is your customer, where are your target segments, and where do you need to show up to attract them to your business. So that's kind of the big picture overview. And again, I'll just wrap it up saying the website really, in my opinion, in the 21st century, small business, regardless of what industry you're in, what your offer is, you need to have a fantastic digital hub website. Doesn't need to be complex, doesn't need to be over-engineered, but it really needs to have that core of your brand, who you are, your positioning, and your key messages. Okay, that was a lot, guys.
That's okay. I think.
What pops out for you here?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that just one thing that I was thinking about that kind of has to do with this, but not a lot. But okay, so you were talking about these things, social media specifically, you had mentioned these are the ones that we want to assess, right? So like in thinking of assessing all of this, like where do you fit in all of this? There was something that came up the other day, and this I kind of guess speaks to like the local advertising part of it. I was listening to Spotify, and I think that they, target based on like Pandora and then iHeartRadio. They target based on your zip code, your location. And one of the commercials was just so memorable, and go figure, I can't remember the name of the bank, but because I've never heard of it before. But it was just like, okay, we won't waste your time with a boring commercial. And then it was just like their brand. They were like, we're human. Come to something bank and we'll open up an account for you. And that was the whole commercial. So it was like, just thinking outside of the box and thinking, that kind of stuff could work. Granted, I don't remember the name of it, but I have the worst memory ever when it comes to short-term thinking. But like, just stuff like that is still really, really cool to see businesses still, doing that sort of stuff. I think it's refreshing too to some people to kind of even go back to some of those older ways of doing things, like, print flyers. And I mean, graphic design and print stuff isn't dead. That's still very valuable, especially to local businesses, small businesses. It doesn't have to be like this full, and I apologize because, I do the SEO stuff, but it doesn't have to be this huge SEO campaign, right off the bat. You could do something that's more familiar to you, or something that makes more sense to your business at that moment in time, and then build off of it. But yeah, so I was just thinking it was really cool to see those other kind of ways to advertise still happening.
It's interesting you say that, Danielle. In any given day, if we said today, I'm just going to pay attention to who is marketing to me and in what channel, I think you'd be amazed to realize, oh, I got a direct mail postcard. Actually, I got 2 of them in the mail today. I wasn't even paying attention. There were 11 bus benches that had, look at that, exactly. And
I'm going to use it too.
There were 11 bus benches that had advertisements on them. There were, like the ad you heard on Pandora or Spotify. And actually, I wanted to just mention to that point, for any brand, for any offer, research has shown that it takes an individual 5 to 7 times to hear your brand message before they will remember it and believe it. And especially,
yeah, and I'm sure I'll hear that again. I'll probably hear that commercial again because I heard it and I didn't skip it. So
right.
I'm still a target. So I could be switching banks. You never know. Better watch out, PNC.
Oh my gosh. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So before we move on, I just want to say one thing. You mentioned the website being like the hub, and the reason it's the hub is that all of the other things on this slide point to the website, or should, in theory, point to the website. And part of that is like you have full control over the website. You control the message, you control the way people experience it. And I feel like that's part of why everything points there and why it's the hub, because it is you and your business online. That's where it lives.
I love your summary. It is you and your business. It's online, and that is where you live. And in this day and age, that is true. Knowing also that the website means the mobile site as well. Mm-hmm. And we could do webinars for weeks and months and years just about websites and mobile sites. I think one of the things that was so exciting for me in meeting Nicole several years ago, initially working with her, I was working for a client who was also Nicole's client. And so we ended up working together on a website, and it's exactly what Nicole says. Everything in your business points to the website. Whether you're a brick and mortar or a services only type of offer, Your customers, your vendors, your employees, your friends and family, everyone is looking at you on your website. And whether you're doing search engine or social media or email campaigns or direct mail or advertising, everyone who you touch through all those other channels is going to come back to you at your website.
Mm-hmm.
Having a great website and not a complex website, not an expensive website, a great website, meaning that it's a website that's telling your story, that's addressing the needs of your customers, and is using the simple foundation of having a simple messaging strategy, a simple search engine optimization strategy. It's going to make all the difference in how you're able to grow your company. And it really is the foundation for all growth going forward. So, I always encourage small businesses that I work with. Sometimes the website can't be a priority because of expense or because of immediate need, but eventually they all navigate towards, we need a great website. I had the good fortune last year of working with a client. When I started with them, they had just launched their new website and they had built it in WordPress, and they did a phenomenal job. So I got to do all the other things that you see here in this go-to-market strategy. We didn't have to focus on the website because they built that foundation, and it was fantastic. And it made creating all the marketing programs around it so much fun. Versus times when I've worked with clients and their website still looks like 1998, and they need all these other programs, and you're trying to drive people to interact with the company. It's like, oh my God, I can't point them to that web page again.
Also, something that's like still happening right now that's super 1998, and this is just a disclaimer, are SEOs out there who will contact you via email and say, hey, guess what? Your website sucks. I'm going to get you to page 1 in 3 days. Please delete the email. Don't even bother figuring out whether it's real or not. It's not.
Yeah.
I really think that it's such a predatory thing, and it really, I wish that more people could do something like, oh, I'm going to report this to the attorney general or something of my state, because I've just seen so many people's businesses just get blacklisted from something where they thought was really great. And they shouldn't still be happening, but it is. And it's a super old practice, to buy a bunch of links and get someone's page to rise to the top very quickly. And it's a very short-lived thing now because of how Google is and how intuitive everything is now. I mean, they know when you're cheating, but you may not know that your SEO is cheating for you. Yeah. So it's one of those things I always like to throw out there. Just be aware of it, approach with caution.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Shall we go to the next one? So this is the 5th and final step, and it's once you've got your marketing plan, your brand is solid, you've defined what your goals are, and you've actually built, I'm going to say, so this number 4, this is about what am I going to do now to go to market. I am going to build a new website, and I am going to launch my email campaigns, and I'm going to improve my existing social media. So everything's ready to go. Now is when you determine how much, not am I going to spend on my marketing, how much am I going to invest to achieve these specific results that I'm looking for. One of the things that I learned early in my career was the budget should always be 0. It should always start at 0. When a client comes to me and says, we have $10,000 or we have $50,000 for marketing for the next year. Well, the minute that dollar amount is put out, now that budget is going to be managing the people and the projects. Because a business owner will say, well, I have $10,000, what should I do? Well, if you haven't already said, this is what my plan is for the year, these are my goals, this is where I need to be to interact with the right people at the right place at the right time. If you haven't done that, there's a good likelihood you'll be throwing good money after bad and simply spending $10,000 on something you hope might work. And you might even have a good sense that it will work because it's worked in the past. So, it's not a completely black and white thing. As I've said several times on this call now, I think so many business owners do this organically. They kind of know what works. They know where they need to be. Last year I spent $5,000 on search engine ad buys, and it worked pretty darn good. So I'm going to do it again this year. I absolutely believe if you go back and just do the simple steps, not an over-engineered plan, but take the time to have a plan, define your goals, and figure out where you need to be, your money will go a lot further. I think your investment will absolutely deliver more results for you if you've used a simple foundation to come to clarity of what you need to do to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And then also defining the resources you'll need. I don't know if we talked about it just before this call or during this call. If we did during the call, I'll say it again. Social media isn't free. Content development is so important, and content can be writing, it can be video, it can be webinars. Content is all the content on your website, your blogging, your email campaigns, your social media posts, et cetera, et cetera. That takes time and thoughtfulness for you or someone you hire or an employee, a consultant, a contractor, an agency. Somebody has to be writing the content, and writing content, good content, developing good content, whether it be written, video, et cetera, takes time. Content includes your PowerPoint presentations and your sell sheets and your fact sheets and your direct mail, et cetera, et cetera. So get clear on, what's the strategic support you need for your planning, for your branding, for your messaging, and your creative. What's the infrastructure and technical support you'll need to build, implement, and maintain your marketing programs? And then what's the tactical support you need? Creative and design, content development, and then the tactical support to launch your projects, programs, and campaigns. And put the dollar amount against all of those. This is what it's going to cost to do what I want to do. And then switch it to, this is the investment I'm going to make to deliver these specific results.
Mm-hmm. So if I understand correctly, you're saying instead of defining the amount first and then trying to squeeze things into it, you're saying define what it's going to take to make it happen and then invest in that.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
And especially because I'm sure the two of you have experienced this so many times. You'll have a client come to you and say, I have $10,000 and I need a new website. And you start on building their $10,000 website. And although it's not called out specifically as this, a quarter of the way into the project, the client realizes, oh, I didn't include that I need a shopping cart and I need single sign-on. Okay, so now the $10,000 website that we had planned to build, the scope changed. And we need $15,000 now to include that shopping cart and the single sign-on. Well, the client only has $10,000. So the budget that we had planned to do all this other cool, fun stuff on the website, we can't do that now. Or we have to go to the client and say, gosh, your project cost just went up 50%. Versus if they had come and said, I need this, then you could cost it out and say, well, that's going to cost you $15,000. The client now can decide, do I want to make that investment? And they might say, I only have 10,000. Then you can say, well, let's trim here, here, and here. It's easier to trim from a project before it starts than it is to expand a project after it starts. And I'm sure the two of you know literally every single project you ever work on expands in scope.
Yes, that's a guarantee.
It's a guarantee. So if you say this is my budget and you're trying to cram everything into it, you're not going to get what you need probably. Versus if you say this is what I need, what does it cost? Now you can start managing the budget instead of the budget managing you and your company and your projects.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, whether we want to do it or not, you know, I think we can speak to like the small business side of it. When that happens, because I think we care about what we do first, sometimes we allow ourselves to go, okay, well, we can sacrifice our hours and our time to help this client.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we decide to do that, it's really not a huge deal. But at the end of the year or something, like an end of a long period of time, you go back and you look at all of the times that you said that, it starts to add up. So, you know, I think from a small business owner to a small business owner, there has to be, you know, just that general understanding of like, well, I get that, you know, I get that that is how things work and that's how, you know, things have to happen. So in most cases, I think people are understanding about it, but, you know, there's always that rough like project where you're like, you want to do all this stuff, but you can't. And you feel like from a point of view, I mean, for us too, it's technical. It's like, oh, we really want to do this the right way, but to do it the right way, you know, it's going to be, like you said, you know, we're going to have to sacrifice this in the project, or we're going to have to, and it's really hard to do that after everything's already, you know, set in stone, so to say, versus planning it out beforehand. So it's, yeah, that totally rings true with our business in many ways, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do like your comment, Danielle, where you say that most business owners do know that things cost more than they initially cost, which is something I really, really focus on when I'm working with clients in the proposal stage as well as in the ongoing management stage. I really strive to under-promise and over-deliver. With that under-promise being a pretty great promise to start with. And so I will have that budget discussion at the onset of a project in terms of, you know, if scope changes like this, or like this, or like this is what you can expect. And then certainly at those different junctures in the project, you know, we have to have the hard discussion, you know, with the client that, yes, you know, we started here. Now we've realized we really need to add these things. Here's what it will look like in terms of the time, the resources, and the additional budget that will be needed for it. And I think you're right, Danielle. Business owners understand this. For me, at the end of the day, it's really about delivering great work that will truly help them to achieve and exceed what their specific goals are, what the goals in terms of growing the business, customer and account acquisition. Those are where I really focus. Lead generation, customer and account acquisition, new revenue, new sales, new revenue. Very good. So is it okay to move on as I did?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have my clock right here. So I thought my senses were getting close to wrap up time. So this is just the kind of the recap. Have a marketing plan, even if it's simple, even if it's something that you just spend a couple hours in the afternoon. Like most business owners, I know you don't think you have time for a marketing plan, but the marketing plan is all about your future. I know you have urgent priorities today, but being able to have that vision of where you want to be in the future is so important. Getting your brand solid, having a really great, strong brand foundation with good positioning, good messaging, clarity how you're different in your marketplace and what value you offer your clients. From there, defining your marketing goals. We talked about specific goals from brand awareness building, lead generation, or new customers, new sales. And then writing your marketing strategy and plan. Where do I need to be? What are the channels that make sense to bring my unified brand to? And then finally determining your budget and resources.
This was a lot of really, really great info. I love that we have this beefy, content-rich, educational piece to share with all of our audience. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Before we completely wrap up, I want to ask you our fun question.
Okay.
What inspires you?
Well, gosh, so many things. I would say pertinent to the call today, I'm really inspired by the marketplace. It's where humanity has come together for thousands of years to share the best of what they have to offer, whether that's a product or a remedy. It's where humans come together to share their stories, and the marketplace is where community happens. I'm really inspired by the 35 million small business owners in the US. They're the backbone of our economy. They are what give us community. They're what give us great jobs. They give us great products and services. They help us take care of our families and our lives. And I think they make the world a much better place. So I'm really inspired by that combination of small businesses and the marketplace of humanity. I just love, my romanticism probably comes a lot from some of my travels as well as movies, but even to this day, the farmers market, the flea markets, they're the analog version of, we now have that digitally, and I can experience community marketplaces all over the internet. And so I'm so inspired by businesses coming together to support our families and our lives and to share the best of what they have to offer. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. All right. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to just wrap up. If anybody is interested, I know Nicole and Danielle, as well as myself, we love talking with small business owners, and completely complimentary. Happy to help any business owner think through where they are, where they want to be, and what they need to do to get there. So I would welcome contact from anyone. And Nicole and Danielle, thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
Yeah, this was great.
Absolutely.
So thank you to our audience for joining the Smack Happy video cast. We aim to help elevate your business through real life experiences and advice.
Until next time, everybody. See ya.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Smack Happy Design videocast. For more information and downloads, visit smackhappy.com/videocast, where you'll find more episodes and the opportunity to subscribe on YouTube or iTunes. You can also sign up for our newsletter delivered to your inbox monthly. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Again, that's smackhappy.com/videocast. See you next time.